One of the fortunate things about being an emotional intelligence and leadership coach is I get to work with multiple layers or levels of leadership within an organization, which also means I get to hear how leaders who've worked with me are using their emotional intelligence from the perspective of their peers and direct reports. And I also get to hear how they're not, or how they've stopped. Emotional intelligence, being skill-based, means we need to develop an ability, a proficiency level, and that comes through active and intentional practice. However, there's another component, isn't there, to performance. That other component is willingness. Just because we have the skill doesn't mean we're always willing to execute on it or to use it. And this begs to ask the question within our emotional intelligence, just how important is the self-awareness skill set? If at the very foundation of emotional intelligence is we first need to be aware of something before we can actually manage it, then self-awareness becomes critical. And also, if we're aware and we choose willingly not to do anything about it, what is that? That's no longer awareness. Now we're moving into a space of taking a look at what are the barriers to willingness. And we'll have personal, social, and structural barriers to willingness. These are 3 of the 6 sources of influence to behavior change. What are the other 3? Well, the other 3 are ability, personal, social, and structural ability barriers. Now, when we're leading others, sometimes we're only focused on the fundamental attribution error, that the reason why someone isn't doing something we expect is because of a character flaw, when really we need to be looking at the 6 sources of influence straddling across ability and willingness or motivation. And one skill within our emotional intelligence that helps us to harness that is the interpersonal skill, to be able to foster a really strong relationship with someone where trust and psychological safety exists, where they're willing to actually describe, define, articulate out loud their barrier, their vulnerability, the thing that keeps them from actually doing what is the expected behavior or performance objective or leadership competency. And getting someone to articulate their blind spots, getting someone to articulate their fault or their vulnerability is actually quite challenging to do. We can only do that when we are creating a space of deep trust, deep psychological safety. And when we're a leader, the way we create that is we go first. We demonstrate it. So when I work with an executive team that is demonstrating their vulnerabilities, their blind spots, their fault lines, then we have every layer of leadership and individual contributor that is capable to also do that because their leader is doing that. But when we have a leader, an executive team that isn't doing that, it becomes much harder for anyone else in that organization to want to do it.